Hello, hello. Let me just do that. Da, 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 da. I always manage to forget something. I don't think there's a single time I've come on for a live where I've had everything exactly right. There we go. I gotta click that properly. Hello, hello to everybody, to anybody who's here. Anybody, everybody. I started late today. I'm trying. Basically, I always end up on for like 2.5 hours anyway. So I thought I'd try a bit of a later start because it kind of works out better for me. My dogs, lovely things though they are, they have a habit of pretty much, if I haven't walked them by 2 o'clock is my deadline to walk them. So if anything's coming up, I've got dogs bugging me right at 2 o'clock. I quite well, you guys have dealt with that. Well, dealt with it, but quite often I'm like, oh, I'm a couple minutes late, or oh, I'm out of breath because I just had to walk the dogs at the last possible second. And Lisa said that she doesn't mind if I'm still if I end up doing the thing and overdo it. She said she doesn't mind if I'm still on live when she comes in the house. So that part's fine. Hi, Discordia. And there's always people that come wandering in after about 2:30 seems to be when there's always people that come wandering in after about 2:30. So it's like, oh, wait a second, let's try 2:30 and see. Let's try 2:30 and see if it's more convenient all the way around. So hello, Melissa. Today we're going to be talking about alien abduction as our topic for the day. Oh, I gotta go do this. Come on. So what's new and exciting with everybody else? I was just took my dog to the vet. He needed an injection for allergies. Oh, yeah. Shayla gets a monthly injection for hip pain. She's 13 now. So we have to take her in. What does she Cartrophen. We take her in once a month for Cartrophen. Cartro. We could do the injection. Wonder if he's allergic to us. You know what? Both of our dogs have allergies. Both of our dogs have. You know what though? You can be ever so mild. Like I'm super mildly allergic. Like no big deal, no issues, no problems. Except for I'm super mildly allergic to about a dozen different things. Dogs, dust. Um, I'm allergic to like mold and mildew and stuff like that. So, and there's always a certain amount of that naturally in the environment. So, I'm allergic to corn pollen for some reason. Uh, I'm not. I think I'm allergic. I forget what the list is. But you can be super mildly allergic, and depending on the combo of things, end up with a bigger problem. Like I take prescription. I take a prescription antihistamine, daily antihistamine prescription to deal with my corn pollen. Where I'm from in Ontario, a lot of cornfields. So they went ahead and tested me for it. I was like, yep, I'm allergic to corn pollen. That's not an issue out here. We don't have the big cornfields here. That now Ontario doesn't have cornfields like some like Nebraska. It's not like that, but yeah, super mildly allergic, but enough of a combination of things that I was allergic to and that's why I sneeze all the time. It's like, I'm if I was only allergic to one thing, I would have absolutely no issues whatsoever. I'm not severely allergic to anything, but then what happens is there's also stuff that you're sensitive to. Everybody's sensitive to dust. Everybody, okay, like we have cottonwood here, right? Everybody's sensitive. Well, not everybody, but most people are sensitive to cottonwood. We're always sensitive to irritants in the air. Even if you don't like, I don't have hay fever. I'm not allergic to what the frick is that? What's that thing that causes hay fever? Yeah, my dog has some kind of seasonal allergy at this time of year. When she sniffs grass, she sneezes like crazy. Yep. But both of our dogs are short. Both of our dogs are short, so they get out there in the grass. They get out there in the grass and whatever. Neither one of them Shayla, we did an allergy test on Shayla because she was getting really bad dandruff, which could be an allergy sign in dogs. She was getting really bad dandruff all the time. We got her tested, and she's allergic to beef and milk. Which milk lactose intolerance is a thing in dogs, but actual milk allergy in dogs not necessarily as common, I don't think. Beef allergy, it's like they're like, oh, a lot of dogs are allergic to chicken. A lot of dogs can apparently become allergic to chicken. They're like, so we started giving her beef. Beef dog food all the time, right? Turns out she was like really allergic to it. Switched her over to chicken. She's 13 years old now. She still gets a bit of dandruff. I don't know what you want to call it. It's like it comes in patches every now and again. She still gets a bit of that, but yeah, it's like 1000% under. Anyway, talking about dogs and their health, but yeah, I'm like the allergy, because most of the stuff that irritates me, I'm not actually allergic to, but because of the teeny, like I said, I'm a little bit. I'm not allergic to Shayla. Yeah, she can have turkey. It turns out that her two biggest dishes were beef and milk were like way high up in the list, and then there was a few other things like what else? She can't have rice. She can't have rice. Rice, she's a little bit allergic to. She can have chicken. She's a little bit reactive. Turkey, she's okay with turkey, but chicken and potatoes are the two best things for her. And she can have peas and beans and stuff like that. So no, it gets really weird. It gets really weird with pets. But when you're dealing with pets, it gets really weird because they can't tell you where the irritation is coming from. But allergies gets really weird. Like I switch between beef, chicken, and turkey mixed with this dry food because I feel bad. Dry dog food is so boring every day. Oh, Bruno can sing you a song of that because him being a diabetic, he has to be on a very carefully curated diet. But no, we finally sprung for the and we were convinced that we had her food sorted out, and we finally sprung for the allergy test, and it turned out that the two biggest thing, because she likes cheese, and if we really want her to do, she's not food motivated except when it comes to cheese. She's a cheese whore. So it's like, yeah. So we found out that she was allergic to cheese, that she no longer gets cheese, and we found out that she was allergic to beef. We fed her a diet of mostly beef flavored foods for years. Yep, that was a mistake. But Bruno, they get potty treats and stuff like that. Like they get potty treats, and we just make sure that he gets a small piece. But something that we do for Bruno is we go get the I don't know what other brands are out there, but there's a Knox brand unflavored gelatin, and we will take and like puree up a piece of chicken or a piece of whatever. We'll puree that up and mix it into this into this plain unflavored gelatin and give him, that way he can have a lot, because he just goes and it's gone, right? It's like, and Shayla's over there going nom 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 on her treat. He's a scarfer. He doesn't chew to begin with, so it's like every now and again we'll give him a big dish of Jello with like a single, and he goes crazy for that. My dog is so picky. She finally settled on these patties from a company that makes raw foods that can be cooked too, and she likes them freshly cooked. Yeah, Shayla went through the. Shayla currently. Oh, Shayla's a special little snowflake. Shayla currently is a Costco chicken. Go to Costco, get a chicken. Chop that all up. Basically, I strip out everything except like even those little bits of cartilage and everything. I strip out everything except for the bones. Chop all that up, chop it all up, mix in a handful or two of peas, stir that all up, and that's her food topper. And without it, she's just like looking at us going, why are you feeding me this garbage? She is the pickiest eater I've ever seen. Bruno, on the other hand, is like, hey, here's a handful of garbage. Okay. He is not picky. He used to, once he became a diabetic, he got just, walking stomach. That boy is always, he thinks he's starving, but yeah, dogs are fun. Allergies are weird. Like we're all allergic to something. I am pretty sure that all of us has a short list of things that we are ever so mildly allergic to. And then it's how common is that thing in your environment? Corn pollen is no longer found. Corn pollen does not exist in my environment anymore. Like I know that if we go a little further east, we got some areas where corn is grown, but it's not like where I came from, and it's not as a little bit of dust. Well, that's different. But yeah, dogs and allergies are really hard because there's only a limited number of things they can do to even test. Even with a topper of ground turkey, my dog stopped eating kibble. We stopped. Shayla gets kibble as a treat. She won't eat it. She will not eat kibble. She doesn't really like it. Um, there's a lot of tricks that you can do. Like if you mix whatever topper with the kibble and give it a stir, throw in just enough water to make a little bit of a gravy and then let it sit for like 20 minutes, get the flavors mixed up more, they can sometimes eat it. We've tried everything to get Shayla to eat, and she gets bored with her food. She gets bored with her food, and she doesn't mind going hungry to the point where she can't hold things down. So she is a lovely challenge. They always say, "Oh, if they get hungry enough, they'll eat." But it's like if it goes too far, then they just feel, I don't know what they feel, but then they just can't eat. But anyway, today's topic is, oh no 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 no! You need to let me sign next. I need to see this. Okay, it's not okay. Is it letting me? Oh, it's not even in this account. Geez, oh, good Lord. 4,000 different spam emails. I just want to get this in my email. Terry from Australia mentioned a while ago, and apparently Terry from Australia mentioned a while ago that a friend of her sister's had like an alien abduction type encounter, right? And this is what got me thinking about it, because Lisa came across and realized that she hadn't actually forwarded me the email. Come on, where is it? Oh, I'm not finding it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I went to Hawaii for vacation, returned to the States, and suddenly developed hay fever. I thought I caught a bad cold that wouldn't go away. Yeah, because whatever irritant you had become accustomed to, you had a break from it, and now that you're home, your body's catching up. It's like, lovely. This is awesome. It's funny, people talk about going to Hawaii and not having allergy issues, which is interesting. You would think that in a tropical location like that with the huge variety of things, but no, it's funny. I talk about having allergies because I have allergies, but the allergies, they're super mild. They are super, super insanely mild allergies. I've just got like, it's not that I have a lot of them either. It's just that the super mild allergies that I have are the things that are incredibly common, like dust. Like once we're dog free, I'll probably get a lot of relief from my allergies. But I'm not. It's like we're not ditching the dog. We're not ditching the dogs just to have an excuse. That's not fair either. So once we reach that stage in life, I can probably go off my allergy meds. But it's you do what you do for your pets, right? We got Shayla first to have no problems with Shayla. We got Shayla first, everything was fine. Then we got Bruno, and Shayla is a hair coat, like hair, like that type of dog. So she's like hypoallergenic. So we didn't really pay much attention to that. Then we got Bruno. Thank God he's not a bigger dog, or we would have a bigger problem. I think I'm more allergic to dogs than I think I am, but it is what it is. Anyway, today's topic, if we bother to stay on topic, if we end up not, I'll tell you right now, I'm always up for a rabbit hole. If we end up straying off topic and just shooting the shit for an hour or so, or for a couple hours, because you guys know I never fucking know when to leave. If we end up just derailing and not really staying on topic, I'm totally fine with that too. This is more the social hangout. Let me hear my own voice for a while. Segment of my week. I was gonna go live. I had the was gonnas. This is where I was gonna do this, and then I didn't do it. The was gonnas, right? Oh, I was gonna do a live with sewing earlier in the week, but I was working on tarot mats, and the tarot mats that I was working on are really, really nice, but you line up your piece, you sew your piece, then you spin around, and just too much spinning. And I was doing I did some more star ones, and I really wanted to be able to concentrate, and oh my god, they turned out gorgeous. So they turned out really well. But yeah, I was working on those, and it's like we know I get distracted. We know that me doing these chats are a distraction, extravaganza. I don't know how to combine those words into something that makes sense. But it's okay. It's okay to get distracted. If I'm just screwing around, I don't care if I get distracted. If I'm doing basic stuff that I already can do in my sleep, I don't care if I'm getting distracted. If I'm trying something brand new, I don't mind if I get distracted. I'm saying it all fucked up, but yeah, I wanted to get them done, because I did those ones like last month, and that was all fine. But then if you do something once, you walk away and don't do it again, you come back, and sometimes it's like, oh, I did this. I did A, B, and C, didn't I? Isn't that right? And you just sit down and do it and realize, oh shit, I've already forgotten what I did. Yeah. So I needed to concentrate, but I also missed not being able to come on and do a live. So it's like, oh man, there was a trade-off, but I got some nice tarot mats out of it. So I'm going to read you this right from the email. We'll get started on our topic. Today's topic is alien abduction. And I don't know what I think about alien abduction as a topic, because it's like, we think of what our modern scientists do. We come into an area to examine a population of animals, animals, right? And what do? We catch them, we tag them, we document them, so the idea, if ET is watching us, and they are sufficiently advanced so that to them we are just not much more, if they are significantly advanced over and above us, they might be examining us the same way we examine a population of wild animals. And with that in mind, it's like, there's a lot of sense to the idea that alien abductions are real. There's also a lot of sense to the idea that people with mental health situations are reporting experiences that are not real. So I never know. I never know. I think for me, I reserve judgment on a case by case basis. There's people that have dreams. Their dreams are so intensely real to them that they can wake up believing that things that happen in their dreams actually happen in the real world. Then there's other situations where multiple people are reporting the same event. So we got that as a whole thing. And I do not know what or where. I think that it's, I think it makes sense. I think that it is 100% a possibility, but I don't know. This is the problem. It's like, there are people that will report this shit just for a hoax, just to get their 15 minutes of fame. There's all people report this kind of stuff for all kinds of reasons, and then when something does happen that's real, it's like, it's really hard to figure it out. But this is what Terry from Australia said. And you guys have seen Terry in the group. She comes in under her, I think she shares an account with her husband. She's been really busy. Her grandmother passed away recently, and her and her sister were really close to her grandmother. So, she is missed. She's in my thoughts. This is what she wrote. This is what she sent me, her email. This is why I decided to pick alien abduction as the topic for the week. This was an incident that happened to a friend of her sister's. Okay. So I'm just going to read exactly what she wrote. I should mention, a while ago, I contacted Peggy in regards to my sister having a friend whose daughter my sister has a friend whose daughter and her daughter have been abducted by aliens. 2, actually. I was supposed to get back to Peggy once I was more information after I spoke to my sister, as it happened 30 to 35 years ago. So she did check in with her sister. My sister never kept in touch with the lady, as the lady was a work friend without deep connections. However, my sister did say the work colleague was a person who would have never spoken about such an event unless it happened. This is usually this is where the most where the most jaw-dropping stuff happens. It's like, this is not somebody who would ever make a claim like this, and that's what makes me sit up and take notice. The work colleague was horrified as a young daughter was abducted at the same time, which as a mother was the hardest thing about the whole situation. As a lady said, what they did to her on the spaceship hurt her, and she knows her daughter would have had the same pain, which broke the lady's heart. The child was very young, like around 2, my sister believed at the time that it happened. The woman was taken twice, around 1.5 years apart. I'm not sure if the daughter was taken the second time or not, and when my sister was speaking to the lady, it was 9 years since the second abduction. The lady said she didn't like to speak about it at all, as there was so much about the event that changed her life for the worst. A lot of people thought she had gone mad. Some friends and family stopped having relationships with her because they believed she was going mad. There was even talk of whether she was a fit mother with stories like this, etc. She was full of anxiety and fear due to maybe losing her daughter, marriage, and these aliens coming back yet again. She only ever spoke to my sister about it once, and my sister could see she was never going to speak about it again to her. This lady was very particular about how she carried herself and was seen by others. The lady's husband had said she shouldn't speak about it, as every time she did, it always brought chaos into their lives. It had put pressure on the relationship in many ways due to what had happened to her. Anyhow, okay. So that's the story, right? That's the story. It's basic, it's simple, and this is basically the story that everyone tells. It is the same story. This thing happened. They either don't want to talk about, or they don't really remember the details of, like, I saw these aliens. We were brought up to this ship. I either don't want to talk about or don't really remember the details of what was done. And then I was returned home again, and I can't talk about it because people think I'm crazy. That is the in a nutshell version, the standard of how this works. And what I find really interesting, I don't know if it's interesting or scary. Is this the one? Yep. I don't know if it's interesting or scary, but when you look at our activities, when we are examining an animal species that is interesting to us, we will go into an area and we will tag everything. We will like they will when they're tagging birds, they'll put up these giant nets and just take every single bird, and even if they're not tagging them, they weigh them, they do stuff, and then they let them go, right? And I'm imagining if birds could talk, what would their stories be? Oh, this thing happened, I was taken up, they did stuff to me, I didn't like it, it hurt, and then they let me go. And that's kind of where that's kind of I don't know, I guess it's not necessarily a horrifically involved conversation as to what I think about it, but I think there's some really compelling, there's some very compelling alien abduction stories, and it's really compelling. Some of the stories that we see going way back, when they're talking about, and the god, this god took me up and did this god took me here and did that. We have story after story after story in all of our mythologies about the gods basically reaching down, plucking up a human, doing something, and putting them back. Or like Ezekiel was taken up to heaven, talking about what he saw. Ezekiel in the Bible talked about heaven and being taken up to heaven and shown around heaven. And what he described was a very real and very physical experience, with very real and very physical machinery that he didn't understand, or at least he said it was machine. Not he. I within an let me see what he says. Already off on tangent town here. Yeah, the spaceship. Okay, there's a book called The Spaceships of Ezekiel, and there's more than one book. There is more than one book and more than one line of study that goes, did Ezekiel have an alien encounter that he just assumed was God because of the primitive nature of living at that time in history? Or You know, what exactly happened to Ezekiel? What exactly did he see? Was he reporting on mechanical structures that he just simply was he reporting on mechanical structures that he just simply didn't understand, or was there something more spiritual happening, right? And of course, I guess this is kind of the I guess this is kind of a good place to talk about stuff like that, because thing is that this is not, I respect Christianity and I respect all religions, but I'm also incredibly open-minded. Like Lisa and I were having a conversation about this just the other day, and I said that the Bible has a split personality. The Bible reads like a spiritual practice that's been layered with a physical encounter, with physical encounters of some kind with an advanced civilization. That's what it reads like. It doesn't have to be right. I wasn't there, right? So yeah, so basically the spaceships of Ezekiel, this is just one of many books, but it asserts the same thing, is that the account of Ezekiel in the Bible was not a description of a meeting with God or in a prophetic vision, but one of several encounters with ancient astronauts in a shuttlecraft from another planet. So biblical, the people such as myself with the ability to read the Bible in some of its original languages, but a lot of his descriptions, and I'm not gonna find it because I went to the wrong spot. Let's see if we can get, because one of the things that he talks about in Ezekiel is a wheel within a wheel, riding on other wheels. Well, let's just see if I can find it. Was that it? Ezekiel, okay. Ezekiel was a prophet. Ezekiel was a prophet who prophesied about all sorts of stuff that was going to happen in the future. So basically, when I was 30 years of age, is this it? Okay. So in Ezekiel, he's talking about this. When I was 30 years of age, I was living with the exiles on the Kabar River. On the 5th day of the 4th month, the sky opened up and I saw visions of God. I looked, I saw an immense dust storm coming from the north, an immense cloud with lightning flashing from it, a huge ball of fire glowing like bronze. Within the fire were what looked like 4 creatures vibrant with life. Each had the form of a human being, but each also had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were sturdy and straight as columns, but their feet were hoofed like those of a calf and sparkled from fire like burnished bronze. On all 4 sides under their wings, they had human hands. Like we have, on all 4 sides under the wings, they had human hands. All 4 had both faces and wings, and the wings touching one another. They turned neither one way nor the other. They went straight forward. Their faces looked like this. In the front, a human face. In the right, the face of a lion. In the left, the face of an ox. And in the back, the face of an eagle. The wings were spread out with the tips of one pair touching the creature on either side. The 4 creatures looked like a blazing fire or like fiery torches. Tongues of fire shot back and forth between the creatures. And out of the fire, bolts of lightning. The creatures flashed back and forth like strikes of lightning. As I watched the 4 creatures, I saw something that looked like a wheel on the ground beside each of the 4-faced creatures. This is what the wheels looked like. They were identical wheels, sparkling like diamonds in the sun. It looked like there were wheels within wheels, like a gyroscope. Now, this is coming from the Bible, and obviously, this is a particular translation of the Bible that I'm reading from. I never bothered to double check where it was coming from. So. They went in any one of the 4 directions they faced, but straight, not veering off. The rims were immense, circled with eyes. Where the living creatures went, the wheels went. And when the living creatures lifted off, the wheels lifted off. Now, if you're describing a spiritual being, why are these wheels? Why are these wheels integral to what this angel is doing? Because when you see biblical people talking about this, they talk about that he was seeing angels. It's like, well, the angels don't need wheels to move around. Over the heads of the living creatures was something like a dome, shimmering like a sky full of cut glass, vaulted over their heads. Under the dome, one set of wings was extended towards the others, with another set of wings covering their bodies. When they moved, I heard the wings. It was like the roar. When they moved, I heard their wings. It was like the roar of a great waterfall, like the voice of the strong God, like the noise of a battlefield. When they stopped, they folded their wings. Now, unfortunately, if you've ever seen like a jet engine, if you've ever seen video of a jet engine taking off, it's like, oh, wait a second. So then we're going, so then we're going, okay, so then he's describing this, and he describes it in more than one place in the book of Ezekiel. He makes other references during this, and then basically it's like, this came down as a physical presence to hand him a scroll. Son of man, eat what you see, eat this book, then go and speak to the family of Israel. As I opened my mouth, he gave me the scroll to eat, saying, Son of man, eat this book that I am giving you, make a full meal of it. And so I ate it. It tasted so good, just like honey, which is really, really weird. Why would you eat a book? But anyway, and then he told me, go to the family of Israel and speak my message. Look, I am not sending you to a people who speak a hard-to-learn language with words you cannot pronounce. If I had to send you to such people, their ears would have perked up and they would have listened immediately, but I won't. So basically, it's like, Ezekiel is basically a prophet of doom, saying these are the horrible things that we're gonna. Yeah, they need wheels of their wings were clipped. The thing is that they wouldn't need wheels at all, because don't forget, Ezekiel makes it very, very clear that this was a physical presence that came down that had moved around by way of wheels, had a dome. There was something up in the top of the dome. He's describing something very, very physical and giving it the attributes of this. This was God, and God gave me this stuff, this information to pass on. And the information to pass on was all about doom and gloom, which is where it gets interesting. Interesting. I mean, there's so much going on where the Bible is concerned, and there's so much going on with the Bible is concerned that you're going, this is a book that this since Jesus' time has been 2,000 years, and we don't know how much before this is 1,000% Old Testament stuff, and we have no idea when that happened. Like, this is like 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. It's just really, really, really interesting that something that is, if you are like me, you're going to go there. It sounds, I have no problem believing that Ezekiel is describing an encounter with aliens. That's the punchline of the whole thing. And I'm just, and the biblical reference is just to point out that problematic references that are attributed to gods or God or the Bible. Some of these references are so specific that it's like, well, if you believe that ET was somehow interfering accidentally or otherwise with humanity, starting at the earliest stages of our development, it's like, well, that's what he's describing. He's describing this, and because of, and there's a religious overtone, and he's, messages from the gods are to be taken as very, like, very religious encounters. I don't know how to describe it. But anyway, we're going to jump straight over to Betty and Barney Hill. Betty and Barney Hill, they had an alien encounter, and there are a huge number of things that are incredibly interesting about their encounter. Let me see if I can do this. I don't know why I just have problems with this every single time. This is where we get to the fun part. I wanted to bring up the Bible, and I really didn't want to deep dive into what may or may not be in the Bible, but I just wanted to point out that people have been saying for years that Ezekiel's physical descriptions of these angels that he saw, how the angels, they're connected to each other, right? It's like, have you ever seen a van with a mural on it? So there's these angels, and they're all connected to each other, and they're sitting on this base of wheels and moving around. They aren't moving. The angels do not move. They're just there. It's like, oh, they're a living being. It's like, if you were to see photorealistic art for the very first time, you might think you're seeing, and you're primitive, you might think that you're alive. As a matter of fact, a lot of cultures, when they were first encountering Europeans for the first time, a lot of cultures in like the 60s and 70s that still hadn't encountered European technology and whatnot, they would see a photograph and they would think that they were seeing a little man that was trapped in this piece of paper. Not every single one of them, but they had some, they thought mirrors were stealing they thought that a mirror was stealing their souls. And like I said, it wasn't universal. It wasn't every single one of them, but there is story after story after story about them trying to reconcile what they're seeing, because it's so, a perfect representation. It's not just a drawing that, a stick man it's not just a stick man that I would draw like a photograph, right? It's like, so we've got modern stories of how people responded when they saw things that we take for granted, like photographs, mirrors, film, movie, motion pictures, stuff like that. We've got all that stuff, right? So one of the most famous alien encounters was Betty and Barney Hill. Betty and Barney Hill. Let me just do this. I got to bring it up twice so I can read it without. Betty and Barney Hill were a couple in the. Come on. Okay, Betty and Barney Hill. The Betty and Barney Hill case, also known as the Zeta Reticuli incident, is one of the most known and credible alien abduction cases in the world. Many people have researched and been informed about this case in the 1960s and how it became an important prototype for abduction stories from then on. So the 60s, that is when the 60s, people are talking about UFOs regularly. People are talking about UFO stuff. I don't want to say near constantly, but it was big news. UFOs were big news. The term flying saucer had just recently been coined. Betty and Barney Hill are very interesting. One of the reasons, and let's just talk about them as a couple immediately and get this out of the way. Betty and Barney Hill, obviously by the example, by their photo, this is them, are an interracial couple in the 60s. This really, really matters because we're talking in the 60s. In the 60s, being an interracial couple already came with challenges, a lot of challenges. And well, okay. It depended on where you were, right? Are they going to give us the... Now they were from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So they were from the north. So they weren't gonna have the same kind of issues that they would have had they been a couple living in the South. But at the same time, we're talking, like this is before Dr. Martin Luther King. This is before the equal rights stuff was just starting to happen. I do not know how to explain. Okay. I know how to explain it. I just want to make sure I am respectful in how I express this. But the thing is, as an interracial couple, this kind of attention, oh, they're crazy, right? Oh, you saw little green men, you're crazy. Okay. Yes, just being in a relationship with each other took courage. So being willing to speak about this encounter, knowing what the backlash was going to be against them as people, and as like this could have been a jumping point for people to say this is why interracial relationships are bad. It makes both people crazy. This is the kind of backlash that they were possibly facing. And in our because we're sitting there looking at this from 2024 going, people don't think like that now. They did then. People back then were, I don't want to say looking for proof. Even people that were supportive, oh, you should be able to love who you love, still had concerns, because we were really going the times were, it was different. Okay, I don't want to defend anything, and I don't want to shit on anything either. Things were different back then. So just simply being an interracial couple was already going to put a level of stress in their lives that that they're not going to they are not going to report on this incident unless they both firmly and thoroughly believed it was true. End of story. That's what I'm trying to say. And you know what it is? When you're trying to address something, and you're aware of how easily you could fuck it up, the referencing, you tend to over explain. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. They're an interracial couple in the 60s that already have enough various pressures in their world as it is. Even in the supportive area of the North where they were, it was still not nearly the level of support that they would have now. Right now, nobody gives a shit. It's like, oh yeah, whatever. But back then, even what's the word? One word I heard was caremongering. Oh, we really care about you, but is this the smartest thing for you to do? That's what support looked like back then. So yeah, they have. So he was a postman. What was she? I don't know if she worked or not. Okay, so they were married for 16 months before they were able to take a 3-day break for their honeymoon, which was very common back then. Barney worked a night shift at a post office located 60 miles away from home. He made the tough commute to work every day. Betty worked a lot in the child welfare field, which can be brutal. The couple spent most of the time doing their jobs, and the little free time they acquired, they spent most of it working at church and the civil rights movement. So yeah, they're working through their church in the civil rights movement, and again, very aware of how they could be dealing with. You got abducted by aliens, you must be crazy. Well, they were very aware that there was another layer to this, and yeah. So they decided to stop and eat before they continued their journey. They went to Niagara Falls on their honeymoon, Montreal and Niagara Falls. They were at a diner nearing the end of their trip. They decided to stop and eat before they continued home to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. They left the diner at about 10 p.m. to avoid all the hurricanes and storms that were supposed to hit. I don't know anything about that. They planned to arrive home around 2 or 3 a.m. Makes sense. Husband's a night worker, right? It's like, I'm work nights. This is fine. While driving home, they noticed a strange light hovering over them. Barney was an ex-World War II vet, and he had just assumed that it was a satellite going off course. Betty, not knowing much, was worried that it was something more. The light grew closer and closer with each mile. Eventually, the light was straight above their heads, and the last thing either of them remembered before the end of the night. They came around about 2 hours later, and surprisingly 35 miles down the road. They both felt dirty and could not recall anything that had happened in the past 2 hours. They drove all the way home. They both tried to remember what happened, but could not seem to. So basically they're both like, what the hell just happened? We blacked out for 2 hours, and now we're 35 miles down the road. Throughout the next month, Betty and Barney developed an increasing amount of anxiety surrounding the incident. They both decided to seek help from a mental health specialist. They met with a psychologist and neurologist named Benjamin Simon. He specialized in hypnosis. Hypnosis was a common treatment for a lot of things back then. He was able to recover memories for the couple through intense therapy. They claimed to remember being abducted. After the light hovered over them, they recall being taken. So basically, they had an incident. They went home. They tried to forget about it, and they started having nightmares and problems to the point where they decided to go to a psychologist. Okay. And that's when they get, so this is not just, I want my 15 minutes of fame. This is like, these people have a lot to lose, and every step of the way discloses more and more, makes it more and more stressful for them. After the light hovered over them, they recall being taken into a ship that blocked their way through a narrow pass. They could see alien-looking gray creatures inside who came out to meet them, but they found themselves unable to move. The creatures took them inside the ship, where they were stripped and evaluated. One of the creatures showed Betty a kind of diagram on the wall of the ship that showed a network of dots connected with dotted single and double lines. The alien pointed to two larger dots near each other on the bottom right of the diagram. And Betty felt that this indicated where the aliens came from, so a star map. The real question, though, is this incident real? Okay, so Zeta Reticuli, basically, in their hypnotic regression, they were able to recreate the star map, and it matches up with that star system. Yeah, the only piece of evidence that we have is a star map drawn by Betty. The viewpoint was right above Zeta 2 Reticuli, which she assumed to be the double star system on Betty's map. She stated, since we did not have the data to make such a map in 1961 when Betty saw it, or in 1964 when she drew it, it could not be a hoax. Since the stars with lines to them are such a select group, it is almost impossible that the resemblance between Betty's map and reality could be coincidental. And this is the thing. Basically, their story never changed. Their story stayed the same. There was never any proof. There was never any proof. There was this between maps and interviews and stuff. Some of the stuff that they said then, like this Zeta Reticuli map, which is down here. There's the map that she drew. This is a star map drawn by Betty Hill under hypnosis. She assumed that the solid lines represented common travel lanes for the reticulans, where the dotted lines represented infrequently visited star systems, which kind of makes sense. This is the main highways, secondary roads, back roads, right? So they did not have the technology to confirm. Okay, they could say that's where it is, but they didn't have the technology to notice to get the detail. This star was the bigger one than this one, I don't know. It's like, another piece of evidence that is critical is the reliability of using hypnosis to recover lost memories, and it's a very reliable practice. So they use hypnosis, retrieve the lost memories, and Betty and Barney Hill are reporting basically the same encounter. There's no differences in their stories. Yeah, if you look back at Betty's map today and line it up with a more accurate model, the map from the 60s was not completely accurate, as we now have very accurate parallax measurements from the two different satellites. You can see that the stars on Betty's map do not line up with any stars, which is interesting. And I don't know. If you take Betty's map and line it up with a more accurate model, but at the same time, I would not be able to hand draw an accurate model. This is what they saw. Now, of course, most people are like, oh no, that wasn't an actual alien abduction. Alien abduction seems a little stretch. It could be aliens, it could be something different. So most articles are still going to be written with an idea to debunking this. What's this one? So now we're looking back from 1961. Yeah, that took courage from them at that time, rather if the encounter was true or not. This is the thing, though, is that like by 1960, these types of encounters automatically got you labeled a lunatic. You were this, you were that. Nobody, you could lose your job. You could lose your spouse. Look at Terry's example. This woman does not talk about her encounter because it put stress on her marriage and cost her relationships. So it's like, and this is just one, this is and these guys, they've made national news. So okay. The Betty and Barney Hill story gets really weird really fast because it's really easy. It's a really easy story to debunk. It is a fairly easy story to debunk, but they stuck with their story, because like a lot of these stories get debunked for lack of evidence. It's like, well, unless you're coming out with a thing, unless you're coming back with marks on you or something. Yeah. So yeah, they had this. They stopped to get a closer look at this bright light and to walk their dog. But so they fill in but they were only able to fill in the details through hypnosis. Um, Yeah. Webb stated, who's Webb? Walter N. Webb, a Boston astronomer and NICAP member, met with the Hills. He said that they are telling the truth and that the incident probably occurred exactly as reported, except for some minor uncertainties and technicalities that must be tolerated in any observation where human judgment is involved, which makes sense. If I'm going to make an observation of something that I know very little about, I'm not going to get every single detail, but the missing time. Um, Let me see what we got here. The Hills went back to their regular lives, which is something else. They didn't want. They did not jump on this UFO circuit. They gained nothing. They gained nothing personally or financially from this, which is another thing that's kind of a dead giveaway. It's like a lot of people, a lot of people that have more problematic stories, they start doing the UFO circuit. They start getting paid for their time and their appearances. They turn it into a job, right? And that really does get into the way. That really, really gets in the way of people being willing to believe these stories. Um, yeah, the Hills earned international attention. That was in 1965. So they did talk. They did talk about it. Like, don't get me wrong. They did talk about it, but they made no effort to seek publicity. Um, Barney died of a cerebral hemorrhage. Wait. Where's Betty's? Okay, Barney died of a cerebral hemorrhage on February 25th, 1969. So he died like this happened in 61. He died 8 years later at the age of 46, after which Betty went on to become a celebrity in the UFO community. She died of cancer in 2004 at age 85, having never remarried. So I don't know if she became a celebrity in the UFO community. I don't know what that means. So maybe I need to be stand corrected on that. But while they were together, they did they did have some notoriety, but they didn't seek it. And as far as I know, as far as I was ever made aware, um, let me see. Nothing obvious coming up here saying that they were paid. So that's that is going to be its own thing. I'm assuming that if I mean I don't know what. Did Betty Hill speak at UFO conventions? Come on. No, I don't want to do that. I hate that. I hate that where you click on something and it's like, nope, not going to help you. Not going to let you read it until you join and give us money. Let me see. Oh, come on. Get over there. Now, the thing about the Betty and Barney Hill case is the level of documentation it received. Okay, Mr. Hill died in 1969. Betty Hill has actively discussed the incident in the media and at conventions across North America ever since. So she started talking about this a lot more openly after her husband passed. Yeah, she said that they grabbed us to see if we were similar to them. I can understand why, as they were interested in us physically. I can understand why they were interested in us physically. I don't hold that against them to this day. She adds that the aliens were particularly interested in Mr. Hill's bone structure while they performed a painful procedure on her, similar to one that would not be done on Earth for another 8 years, an amniocentesis. They were also, she reported during psychological sessions, interested in the structure and color of her skin. Yeah, although it's easy to dismiss them as crackpots or publicity hounds, which never happened. It never happened intentionally, and Betty Hill never started doing the circuits. And let's face it, this is like 1965, 69. She's a widowed mother. She's a widow. I don't know if they had kids or not. She was a widow in 1969 trying to support herself. And she can go on. I don't know where the money goes for stuff like this. Yeah, I'm not going to get much more information about this. Anyway, thing is, oh, my crow is here. Crows are doing really well, by the way. So yeah, so that is the big one. That Betty and Barney Hill story, and you know what I knew at the time versus what they're saying now. Who knows whether it was more, whether like this idea of Betty Hill becoming the darling of the ufologist circuit. I don't know anything about that. So I learned about this shit before there was an internet. So let us move along and see. Oh, now come on. There we go. 9 most convincing alien abduction stories in modern history. There is UFOs and UFO abduction are 2 completely different. So there's Betty and Barney Hill again. And them talking about what they saw. Yeah, well, Betty was convinced they had encountered a UFO and later reported the sighting to the U.S. Air Force. Her husband was skeptical. It was only when the couple met with psychiatrist Dr. Benjamin Simon for a consultation in December 1963 that Barney changed his mind. Now, this is interesting. He found both to be suffering from crippling anxiety, Betty in particular. Anyway, let's go to the next. Oh, they're going to do it that way, are they? Do. 1960. Okay, so this is all new to me. What are we learning together today? What are we learning together? 1969 Berkshire UFO incident that shocked an entire town. When numerous residents of Berkshire County, Massachusetts, individually reported having seen a UFO on September 1st, 1969, authorities were at a loss for an explanation. This wasn't a lone sighting induced by sleep deprivation that could be easily dismissed. Okay, these are just sightings. Oh no, abductions. Okay. Thomas Reed was 9. Okay, on the evening in question, residents spotted lights above Sheffield in the northern Berkshires. Many of the witnesses said that the lights were fitted to an unidentified disc-shaped craft that was maneuvering in unprecedented ways. Some witnesses claimed that they lost track of time as they gazed with stunned fascination at the object. Thomas Reed was 9 years old at the time. In the car with his mother, brother, and grandmother that night, the family noticed a group of glowing orbs dashing out of the roadside trees. Reed claims that something astounding happened. Heading home, his family approached Sheffield Bridge. It came to a stop off the right side of the road, he called of the glowing orbs. Everything got really calm. It was like being in the middle of a hurricane. There was like a barometric change in pressure. It was just like a dead silence. Then there was an eruption of crickets and frogs, and it got really loud, and that was it. Then the family suddenly found themselves back in the car, but they had inexplicably lost 2 hours of memory. Stranger still, Reed's mother and grandmother had somehow switched car seats. Despite any tangible evidence of the Berkshire UFO incident, Reed has remained steadfast of his account. He said over time that family regained some memory of the incident, including having been inside a hangar-like facility with other people. We encountered something, Reed said. It was definitely not of this world. Now, this is interesting because other people reported a UFO the same night. This hangar thing we were all in was huge. It was larger than a football field. This hallway we had seen was circular with a Y configuration, almost to control the flow of traffic. This one room had a bowed-in wall that was rounded. It's important to remember that Reed was only one of dozens of people who reported witnessing a UFO in the Sheffield area that night. Some were adults who called into the local radio station to report the sighting. Others were children who began drawing UFOs in class. There must have been 20 or 30 sketches that were drawn by children in our fourth grade class from what they saw. They hung underneath in the classboard at Sheffield County Center School. More than one of those hang in the Roswell Museum today. People don't realize its significance, and so it wasn't just us. Oh, this is just the authors. Okay. So multiple witnesses, some of whom claim that there was an abduction. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see what the next one says. The UFO abduction of Whitley Strieber while he was writing sci-fi. Whitley Strieber has written fiction for more than 40 years with notable titles, including the horror novels The Wolfen and The Hunger. He contends that his writing streak was interrupted one night in the late 80s by an alien abduction in upstate New York. This is actually kind of interesting because there's more than one science fiction writers who say that they were abducted, which is like very strange. Strieber recounted his experience in his nonfiction title Communion. So basically, I'm gonna skip this. The unfortunate reality is this person could have the most real, the most verifiable, blah 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 encounter that ever happened, and the fact that he's a science fiction writer is going to count against him forever. So let's just skip this one. The Pascagoula alien story that saw 2 fishermen subjected to experimentation. These are all older. A big light came out of the clouds. Parker recalled it was a blinding light. It was hard to tell with the light so bright, but it looked like it was shaped like a football. I would say, just estimating, it was about 80 feet. It made very little sound. It was just a hissing noise. Parker then claimed that 3 legless creatures floated out of the vessel towards him. He described all 3 as having mitten-shaped claws, while one was necklace and gray. The other appeared to be more feminine. When one of them tried to wrap its hands around Parker's neck, his natural response of fear oddly subsided. I think they injected us with something to calm us. It was kind of numb, and I was kind of numb and went along with the program. He alleged that he and Hickson were taken aboard the alien vessel and experimented on. Afterward, the two terrified fishermen found themselves back on the riverbank as though nothing had happened. They drove to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office and told Captain Glenn Ryder and Sheriff Fred Diamond the entire story. So when they got me in there, they had me. There was no seats, no chain. They just moved me around. I couldn't resist them. I just floated, felt no sensation, no pain. They kept me in that position a little while. Then they'd raise me. Then they'd raise me back up. So these are guys that are talking about an encounter. I'm not. The alien abduction of Antonio Villas-Boas that ended in extraterrestrial. Oh, I've read about this guy. This guy was in Venezuela, claims that he was abducted by a UFO, and that this beautiful alien woman came out. So we've got the standard abduction story happening. Boas claimed that atop the egg-shaped craft was a cupola containing a rotating red light. As the vessel extended its 3 legs to the earth, he claimed that he tried to flee, but was captured by 5-foot-tall beings wearing gray overalls and helmets and then taken aboard their ship. He alleged that the beings' eyes were blue and small, and their communication consisted of animal-like sounds. After blood was taken from his chin, he was placed into a room filled with strange gas, which caused him to feel severely ill. Soon, a naked and attractive female entered the room. He claimed the woman was adorned with long blonde hair and red pubic hair, and the two soon engaged in sex. The woman gestured to her stomach and then motioned upwards, which he later interpreted to mean that she would raise their child in space. This story actually made quite the rounds when it. This story made quite the rounds at the time because, that's crossbreeding, experimentation. UFO abduction of pilot Fred Valentik while he was mid-flight. Hello, Jen. I'm just going over this. These are some alien abduction stories that I'm just kind of reading off. I'm not trying too hard at this, just showing the variety. I'm popping through them as quickly as I can just to show some of the variety of reports that come in. It's important to note that the 20-year-old who was an enthusiast of alien stories and ufology was a fairly experienced pilot. And this is the thing here. There are so many stories of people that have an experience and don't talk about it for decades because they are afraid of how their story will be perceived, right? So this is part of the problem. It's like, well, you can go, oh, he's into UFO, he's into alien stories and ufology. It's like, was he trying to get his 15 minutes of fame, or was that why it's like, no, I already believe in this stuff. People have already, so now that it's happened to me, I'm not afraid of speaking up.